Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. This is the Honda CB77 Super Hawk in 1/16 scale. And this is what we're going to build today. So, let's get on with it. So yes, this is indeed the Honda CB77 Super Hawk by MPC, which I'm reliably informed stands for Major Piece of Crap, basically. But we'll see. Now, as ever with these things, there's a bit of a story here. I haven't built a motorbike in a very, very long time. The last motorbike I built was a Honda 750, like Paris-Dakar bike. I think it was the... oh God, I can't even remember what it was. I know it was a 750 Paris-Dakar bike, but it was like, I was about 14, I think, at the time. But this is... this, I didn't buy this. This was a gift from Bunny Kitten. Thank you, Bunny Kitten. Love you. And the reason she got me this was because we were talking about bad models. And she built one of these, and apparently it was awful. So she, when I talked about, bad kit, she went out and bought me one. So yay, thanks for that. Although apparently this is like a second hand, so it's new, but it's second hand, if that makes sense. So we have had a look in the box, or she's had a look in the box. She said it doesn't seem to be as bad as the one she had. But let's have a quick look at what it's got on here. So it's super specifications with an exclamation point for some reason. So 61 to 68. So it's a 300cc engine. Yeah, okay, fair enough. So it's got different sets of decals and things in it. Authentic parts, okay, and all new decals. Now let's have a look. One powerful go-getter, apparently. Now let's see. Does it have a date on it? MPC is a registered trademark of Round 2 LLC. Copyright 2018, Round 2 LLC. Product and packaging, design and made in the USA, decals made in China. Okay, so 2018? Seems fairly new. Fun to assemble model kit. I'll be the judge of that, thank you. Right, let's get out of the box and have a look. Oh, if I can get the box open. Oh. All right, what have we got here? So here are the decals, the all new decals. They look fine. Has it got a date on this? Yeah, see the date on this is 2018 as well. So, all right, we'll see. Important, read the instructions first. Although they get points for something here, for removing small parts from the runners, not from the sprues. I'm sure I've covered this before, but when you talk about injection molding, everybody refers to the bits that the parts come on as a sprue. Technically, they're called frames or runners. The sprue is actually the plastic that gets pushed into the mold. So when you do injection molding, you take your mold, you fit it together, and then you heat it up, and you have basically a stick of plastic. It's almost like a hot glue gun in effect, and you push that stick into the mold, and it melts in the hot mold, and it spreads around, and you get something out of it at the end. But that plastic you're pushing in, that is technically the sprue. What the bit that it comes out on is called a frame or a runner. But anyway, that's beside the point. Highest quality styrene plastic goes into the making of each MPC model. Only cement for trim off excess plastic or flash. I love the way they say that. Make sure you trim off the flash. How about not have flash in the first place? When painting your model, it's best to cement all non-chromed accessories to the body and paint the whole unit at one time. Okay. Right, so what are these instructions? Very basic. But I'm sure we'll manage. See, this is going to be the awkward bit, I think, is the fact that the frame comes in two halves. So you have to like build the engine and then put the frame, like clamshell the frame onto the engine and the back wheel. But well, we'll have to have a look at that. Right, let's have a look at the bits anyway. Right, one of these isn't even in a bag. So there's the front forks, wheels, and some. Oh, I think that's the rear light. There is a lovely mould line on there. So we're going to have to take all of the chrome off of everything. Although, to be fair, a lot of these parts probably shouldn't be chrome anyway. What else have we got here? More chrome. Put your sunglasses on. Yeah, so again, that exhaust has got some horrendous mould lines on it. And a lot of these parts actually, like the engine and everything, shouldn't be chrome. They should be aluminium. But, you know, that's fine. We have a couple of tyres. What's this? This is the mud guards. Get out. So that's the front and rear mud guard. They don't look too bad. All right. And then, right, this is where it's going to get fun, I think. All right. There's quite a lot of flashing on it. This actually doesn't seem to be that badly moulded, funnily enough. Oh, hang on a minute. No, yes it is. My mistake. My mistake, it's awful. It doesn't seem to be terribly terrible. But we'll have to... Are we missing a bit here? Oh, there's still some bits in the bag, that's why. Oh, because these bits here, these are for the fuel tank. Oh. So those bits go together like that, somehow, except they don't. And that's your fuel tank. And then you have these bits here, like these side panels that go in to make the tank. All right. Well, I think, to be honest, we're going to have to strip the chrome off a lot of this anyway, because it's bad. A lot of these parts are going to need a lot of cleaning. Oh God, look at the state of those shock absorbers. They've got massive ridges around the edge of them. Eek. That's not even been chromed properly, so we'd have to de-chrome that anyway. All right, let's get on with it. Right, so what I've got here is a tub of bleach. It's not actually, well, I mean, it is bleach, but it's this is Buster plug hole sanitizer. Stop laughing at the back. This is what I use to debung these things. So, will that fit in there? Of course it won't. Right, let's just... We'll just cut the frame up and drop those bits in. Will that go in like that now? No, it won't. Of course it won't. All right, drop those in. Drop those in. I use a couple of old Tamiya bottles just to weigh it down. Stop it floating to the top. We'll see what that does. I think I might see if I can get away with leaving these, because these actually look all right. So I might see if I can get away with just keeping those as they are, because that will save me a lot of effort later. So what we'll do now is we'll leave this in here for a while and wait for it to remove the chrome. It's kind of funny because it often depends on where you get the models from and who makes them, because sometimes you put the stuff in here and it literally just dissolves in front of your eyes, and other times I put stuff in and it won't dissolve at all. But we'll see how this goes. We'll leave it in there for a little while, and in the meantime we'll look at some of the other bits. Right, well, as you can see, that's come off of there very quickly. I was kind of hoping that would happen, because say sometimes it usually comes off in a couple of minutes, and other times it either takes days or it doesn't come off at all. I've just flipped a couple of these over because there was some bits underneath. It's probably where there's like an air bubble or something, and it's stopped it from getting to it. So we'll give that another couple of minutes. Then I'll take these into the house and give them a good wash off, and then we'll go from there. Right, so I've stripped all the chrome bits now. It's kind of funny. I was looking at some reference pictures while I was just putting all this stuff away, or putting it all in this thing, and most of this bike is not chrome. In fact, there is virtually no chrome on it. You'll also notice that I've done, even though I said I wouldn't, I've done the mud guards. And that is because upon looking at reference pictures, like I said, these are actually painted. They're not chrome. And on top of that, most of the bike, I'll put a picture up to show you, most of the bike is painted, not chromed. There's very, very little chrome on it. You've got the sides of the tanks, the exhausts, and then like the headlight surrounds and things like that are chromed, and the rest of it is all either painted or raw aluminium. So with that in mind, now this is all stripped, what we're going to do is we're going to go over it. I'm just going to give it a quick spritz of the old high coat grey primer, because that makes it a lot easier to see all the flashing and mould lines and all that kind of stuff. And believe me, looking at this, there is a lot of flashing and mould lines on this. So I will just give all of the frames a quick blast of primer, and then we can start the lovely job of cleaning all this up. So yay, back in a minute. Right, so as previously mentioned, I've given everything a coat of grey primer. That's now nice and dry, and I think we're going to start with these wheels, because they are, quite frankly, bloody awful. That one's actually not too bad. That one's got a bit of flashing on it. That one's worse, and this one is awful. So we'll start with the worst one. I'll just snip this one off. I should also mention as well that the plans for this kit are not great. Let me just give you a quick demonstration of what I'm talking about here. So it says put the wheels together, but it doesn't differentiate in any way which wheel is which. It just says front tyre and rear tyre, but they all look exactly the same. And as you can see from here, these wheels are not the same. As it turns out, this is the rear wheel, and I only know that because from looking a bit further on in the plans, it actually shows that that is the rear wheel. So that's not a great start, but never mind. I don't know. But let's see what we can do with this. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to take a scalpel, and we're just going to get in here and try and shave off all of these mould lines. This is going to take forever doing this, but you know, it is what it is. But we'll just go around all of the spokes and just get in there and cut out all of this excess plastic like that. Which is obviously going to take forever. So there's also like these bits in here. So what we might do with these is get like a small drill like this. This is actually probably a bit too small. And just get in there and basically just poke through it like that, just to get the worst of it out. And then again, we'll just get in there with the tip of a blade and try and clean it out as best we can. So it's just like that all the way around, all four sections of the wheel. There's also a lot of flashing on the back here, so that will all have to come off. because we need these nice and flat so they join together properly. There's also ejector pin marks on the outsides of the wheels. Just generally clean everything up and go from there. Now what you can do on some things, you can't unfortunately do it with this because it has this locating pin on it, but if this was just flat, then what you could do is just take a piece of like sandpaper or something and just lay it down and just like scrub the wheel like that. I mean, technically we still could, providing we keep the pin out of the way, and just kind of go like that and just clean it that way. And you can see that's removing all the high points. But just basically whatever you need to do to get the wheels cleaned up. And then before you go any further, make sure that you dry fit these pieces together and make sure they go together properly. Now these won't at the moment because there's still too much flashing on them, but just, you know, whatever you need to do to make it fit. But I'll get on with these, and once I've done this one, we'll come back and see what it looks like. Right, so that's the wheels done. I've given them another lick over with primer, but you'll agree they look a lot better than they did. What we need to do now is look at the tyres. And the tyres are mostly okay. There are some ejector pin marks on them, but there's not really anything we can do about that. The biggest issue, if you look, you can see around the edge here, around the circumference, there's a ridge of rubber. And we need to get rid of that because it looks weird. So this is a very new, very sharp knife. And what we're going to do is just very, very gently just come in and remove that ridge, the crest of that ridge, if nothing else. And just very, very carefully and slowly, take your time, there's no rush, and just remove that ridge. These are very knobbly tyres. These are more like off-road tyres than anything else, but still. We'll get rid of this. Anyway, right, so that's that done. My son's just turned up. So hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
So before we see what he wants, the next thing to do, and this is kind of optional, is if you take a piece of sandpaper, this is I think 400 grit or something, and just scuff it like that, and it just makes it a bit less shiny and a bit more tyre. You see, like that, if it would stay in focus. So, I thought you brought me a cup of tea then. You haven't, have you?
Oh, and you can try this one if you want.
What is it? Is that? It smells awful.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, that's rank. What is that?
It is chamomile, nettle and dandelion with some ginger in it.
So you're basically drinking weeds. Okay, whatever.
Yes, because it's supposedly good for your digestion.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go, folks. You heard it here first. But anyway, like you say, you just scuff around that, and that basically makes that tyre a little bit more presentable.
Anyway,
So,
that was it. Bye.
oh, bye then.
Bye then.
Bye, Michael.
Bye, Michael.
Right, anyway. Oh dear, my kids are great. He basically brought me his chamomile tea to try. And it was unpleasant. But as long as he's happy with it, that's what counts. So there you go. But like I said, just go around the tyre like that. And that, you can see, that's basically removed that ridge. It also means the bike won't look weird when it's sitting on the tyres. Because with that ridge, it would have been like sitting up higher than it should do. But that's that. So I'll do the other one, and then we can move on from there. Right, we're turning our attention to the engine now, and this is going to be hilarious. It's not terrible, you know, as a piece goes, but there's still lots of ridges and things. So, like for example, all around here there are ridges. Where the where I cut it off the frame, it needs to be cleaned up. There's mold lines again flashing everywhere. This is the starter motor, and you can see there's a massive mold line all the way around it. All of the parts are flashing. There's rough edges, seams, everything. So we'll just do the same as we did before. We'll start with a knife, just cut the worst bits off, and then for a lot of it you can just like scrape the edge and get rid of it like that. We'll do some sanding as well where we need to, but that's for all those kind of pieces. For these the veined parts on the engine, what we can do is basically cut. You want to kind of cut across the top and leave as much material as you can, like that. And then what we'll do is we'll take a razor saw, and this is quite a chonky one, and just come in and just kind of tidy up, just run it along the groove, and just, oh, it's almost like rescribing a panel line. But we'll basically just jam the end in there and just cut through that remaining lump of plastic and try and reform it back into something that looks like a groove. Like that. So I will clean up all these bits. Some of them are worse than others. This is the bottom of the crankcase, and this is particularly egregious all around the sides here. You can see there's big lumps of flashing. But yeah, same deal as before. I'll just clean up all these parts, and then we'll start assembling the engine. Oh, I had to stop and show you this. This is fantastic. So these are the two halves of the crankcase. So you've got one pin on one end and then two pins on the other end. And if you actually put it together with the pins, it's not even close. This end's not too bad, but it's not lined up. But this end, it's got to be out by about a millimetre. That's just ridiculous. Where's the side of the crankcase? Is it this one? I think it's this one. So basically what you do in this situation, I'm sure it's fairly obvious, is you just cut the pins off and line it up and make it fit that way. But that is just hilarious how badly those, because that's not a molding issue. That's this is not because the mold's worn out or anything. This is just never fitted from day one. So yeah, this is why you dry fit stuff before you start putting it together, because that's just ridiculous. Let's try this other side, see if that goes on. I think that goes that way around. Yeah, that gap there at the top. Anyway, I shall carry on with this madness. Right, so I think I mentioned this before, but a trick you can do if you've got parts like this to clean up the edges is just take a piece of sandpaper, hold it flat, and just run the side of it across like that, and that will basically hopefully straighten up the edge and also make sure you hit all of it. And if there's any little bits of flashing left, that'll get rid of it. And so you don't need to go mad with it. Just give it a quick rub over like that, and you can see where the primer's come off. This is another reason why it's a good idea to prime the parts before you start checking them for fit and everything, because you can see here where if there's any bits left over or any bits that you've missed. So yeah, it's just another helpful little thing that you can do. Oh god, look at the state of that. But yeah, So I've cut the pins off of that, as I mentioned, and hopefully now this should go together and actually line up, although it's still not a great fit. But again, what we can do is just put it flat on the surface like this and flatten it out that way, so you can see here where it's touching there but not here at the front, which is why there's a gap, and the same over here. So by just don't push down on it because you'll deform it, but just hold it flat. There, and that's a lot better, you see. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Obviously it's difficult to do this if there's pins on it, but we've just cut the pins off, so. But we'll just do the same thing here. I don't normally do it like this. I actually have a board, like a flat piece of MDF with a piece of very fine grit, wet and dry, glued to it. And I use that because it's nice and flat. But you see that now fits together much better, as well as it's going to fit the state it's in. But you see those joints have closed up now. So we'll just crack on and keep cleaning parts. This is another bit here, look. You can see the mould line all the way around it. Right the way around. Lovely. Basically everything's like that. But, you know, we'll do what we can. So I've just been working on these two bits here. These go on the top of the engine. This has two pins, a small one and a large one, to like locate it. One of those holes is completely blocked. Oh God. There's literally a thick piece of plastic over the hole. The hole is there on the underside, just not on the top. So I shall remove this offending piece of plastic until we actually have the hole that we're meant to have. Stop laughing at the back. There we go. And onwards. We're actually not far off from being able to put this thing together, or at least try and put it together. But we'll see how we go. Follow the instructions, they said. He'll be fine, they said. I don't know if did I mention that earlier. You should have no trouble assembling your kit if the instructions are followed properly. Yeah. We'll be seeing a lot of that phrase. I believe this is the very definition of making a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Which, if that is a phrase you're not familiar with, then you're obviously on the younger side of my of my demographic. Now, bearing in mind as well, these parts are all chromed. If we look at the starter motor, for example, you can see how much of the primer I've removed just to get rid of the worst of the mould lines. So if that was still chromed, well, it wouldn't be anymore because I've just scraped half it off. So there you go. Right, let's see if that'll actually fit in there now. Probably not. No, it won't. No, oh, I don't know, it might do. A bit of brute force and ignorance. That one won't. I'll try and get it apart again now. There we go. Alright, let's wallow that hole out a bit more. This hole that is not even round. And not straight either. There's also a little bit of plastic there, which I'm sure doesn't need to be there. Yay, we've got 2 bits to fit together. We might as well start assembling some of this actually. Let's get a bit of glue. So not that this really needs to be glued, it's quite wedged together as it is, but we'll put a little bit on there just for the fun of it. Right, so we need to put the 2 halves of the cylinder block together, cylinder head I should say. So what we'll do is once this is together and dried, we'll clean it up a bit more. Because as you can see, there are still big ridges there. But again, they're difficult to clean up until the parts are actually together. Right, that can go like that. And we want this pieces of the crankcase and the clutch cover. That goes that way round. Like that. And then we'll try and get the front to line up. And glue that. Then we'll put this go that way, no, the other way around. That goes like that. And again, this piece really doesn't fit very well, but you know, everything's fine. There's a lovely gap there, look. I should think if Honda actually released anything like this, they'd probably throw a fit. There we go. Right, I'll let that dry. I think we'll put this on, we'll try and put this on the top of here if it'll go. Right, it goes that. That's not going to go that way. Or is it? Perhaps with a little bit of brute force and ignorance. I think we need to sand the top of that head a bit more. What we can also do is snip that pin off, which goes through far too far through the plastic, and is not helping, because for some reason, oh, that's not the right bit, they've put a little bit there, and that pin was hitting it. So good job. That is nowhere near, not even close Look at the gap at the back there, the overhang. Am I supposed to peel this apart? But then you get a big gap down here, look. Oh, good grief. Right, well, I think we'll do the same again. We'll cut the pins off and we'll just split the difference. This thing is an absolute disaster. I'm sure Bunny Kitten is watching this and giggling her head off. She was adamant what a bad kit this was. It's not that I in any way disbelieved her, but it was more the fact that this one didn't seem to be as bad as the one that she got, and yet this is in itself terrible. Right, okay. I need these little round bits that go on the sides. Now that's part of a carburetor. We don't want that, we want this. So the one with the fins goes on this side. So if this fits, well, firstly, it'll be a bloody miracle. And secondly, it might actually, yeah, we're gonna have to force all that open for that to go in there. So there's gonna be a big gap at the bottom there. That's not even straight. Right, still got a bit more cleaning up to do. We'll do a bit more assembly in a minute. So I've been trying to fit this side piece and I can't understand how it's supposed to go, because there's a bit you can see on this side. There's a cutout there with a flat for it to sit on, but if you do that, then there's no way this top piece can go on, because it wants to push that out like that. So I think this is supposed to be like stood off a little bit from the, so it's more like that. If you can see what I mean, it kind of sticks out the side a bit. So what I'm trying to do is now get this piece here basically aligned with the edge of the top of the cylinder head. Oh, that was too much. Oh, that's gone back too far the other way. There we go. There, oh, now the bottom's twisted in. I love building models. I should do it more often. Right, that looks something like it. That goes something like that. I think what we'll do is we'll glue this top on, and then we'll put the other side in afterwards. I think that's somewhere near straight, right. Oh dear. Why do we do this to ourselves? Right, now let's see if we can get this one in. And that goes like that. There we go. Perfect. Looks like it grew there. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll try and do something with these joints and these fins. But yeah, that's going to be fun. And then apparently that is supposed to fit in there. Although if that fits, it'll be a miracle. It's not far off. Right, we can pop that starter motor in. That should go in that slot there, but probably won't. And indeed, it won't, because that tab is way too thick to fit in that slot. So I shall just trim that down a bit, because of course I will. I had a feeling that was going to be the case, but you know, I thought I'd give it a go. Give it the old college try, as they say. But yeah, if any of you have this kit in your stash and you're looking forward to building it, or if any of you have built one, I would be interested to hear how you got on with it. As I say, Bunny Kitten built one of these, or I don't know how far she got with it. I think she gave up in the end. Oh, that's close. There we go. Good enough for government work. Right, get in there. There we go. What's wrong with that? Oh dear. Right, so we're just turning our attention back to this cylinder head. I managed to get that gap to close up by basically using a couple of these clamps. You've seen me use these before. And basically I just put some extra glue on it and then just clamped them together like that, and it closed up the gap. So what I'm doing now is just trying with varying degrees of success to basically bring these veins back together. So what I'm doing is just running the razor saw through the veins and just trying to clean them up a little bit like that, which is working rather well on this side. But the problem that we have is the other side, because on this side they don't line up, because of course they don't. So we're gonna have to kind of do it at a bit of an angle, but you know, it's fine. It just makes you wonder, as is so often the case, did anybody actually try and build this thing before they started selling it? But that might have to do us. And then what we'll do is just put a little bit of this over the top, just to get rid of those fluffy bits. Just like that. I'll say it's not ideal, but that's what it's going to get. Actually, we can put the carburetors on as well, which that one actually fits, surprisingly enough. Let's see if the other one fits. I suspect it probably won't. Oh, look at that. Bit of brute force and ignorance, and in it goes. Right, and for my next trick, I will attempt to put this onto the block. Now this side here isn't glued on yet, that's just wedged in place, because it has a pin. I don't know if you can see it in there, but there's a pin in there that goes through the rear sprocket, or the front sprocket rather. And the idea is that you put the engine and everything in, and then you put the sprocket on, and then you put the side cover on, but that's going to be awful. So we'll have to see how well that goes. Right, does this actually fit in here? It kind of does-ish. It looks bloody awful, mine, but... it's about as good as it's going to get. It is rocking on there rather alarmingly. which is not ideal. Right, actually I'm going to pop that side off because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to end up gluing it on if I'm not careful, because that doesn't fit very well either. in news that will surprise no one, that doesn't fit either. So right, we'll just hold that for a minute, and then what comes next? Technically we're supposed to start putting the frame together, but we'll see how well that goes. Right, so that's the engine assembled, and I say I've cleaned up the vanes as best I could. I've re-primed it, and it doesn't look terrible. So we're going to turn our attention now to the frame, and the problem we have with the frame here, and I have cleaned this a bit, is that you're supposed to like clamshell the engine and everything, back wheel and all the rest of it into the frame before you put it together, and that does give you a bit of a problem, because it's like, well, then how are you supposed to paint the thing? Because it doesn't go together very well, which is a phrase you'll be hearing a lot, I suspect, in this video. Yeah, it really doesn't go together all that well. I mean, you can look at that. That is not great. But I think what we're going to do, because I've done a bit of messing about with this, and it is possible to like spread, because like these bits here actually go on the engine somewhere, and hold the engine. And I found, with a bit of testing and a bit of brute force and ignorance, that it is actually possible to kind of very gently spread this open and get the various bits in where they need to go. So I think what we're going to do, because the only thing that's going to really give us a trouble is this here. Now, as you can see, this frame is supposed to be like that, but it's not. It's like that. So I might just put some tension on this and like bend it back into shape a bit better. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together, because the idea is you're supposed to put the wheels and everything on and then glue those ends together. But it's like, that's going to be really tricky to do and have the wheels still turn. So I think what I might do is just trim these down a little bit and try and get it to a position where I can basically glue the frame together, and then be able to put the wheel and everything in afterwards, and then try and close that up. But because you can see here, the frame again doesn't fit together very well. But we'll glue the frame up, sand it, fill it, and then re-prime it, and then we'll see what that looks like. What I also need to do is, and this is going to take forever, is a lot more cleaning. So for example, the forks here, massive mold lines down the sides, so we'll have to deal with that. Everything's got mold lines on it. So I will basically continue in the same vein as before, and just spend hours cleaning all these parts up, just using files, whatever it takes. We are going to have to spend some time on these. These are actually the supports for the front mudguard, and they are completely wrong. So much for the I think it says it on the plan somewhere. Where is it? Yes, there it is. Oh, I can't get it out of the camera now. Authentic parts. Yeah, not so much. I'll put a picture up to show you, but these, you can see these are kind of rectangular. They should be round, and also where they cross over the mud guards, they're actually flat. So it's like what they've done is taken a tube, flattened the middle of it, and then bent it around the mud guard. So I'm going to try and see if I can do something with these, but I might actually just make some new ones, but we'll see how it goes. But I'll show you that when I get to it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to spend, look at those shock absorbers. They're awful. Look, it's just massive mold lines on them. But this is the thing. I'm going to take a lot of these parts off the frame. I'm going to clean them up, and then we will perhaps maybe start to get with some assembly. But the first thing is to stick this frame together. So we'll do that, and then we'll get on with the rest of it. So let's see how well this works. Because I want to get this nice and assembled and dry and everything, so that I can basically give it some abuse. Right, so we'll start from the front here and work our way back. I have cleaned a lot of this off, but it's still not great. There's those rooks out there screaming their heads off. Right, now we need to get under here. This is what I was hoping, that once I put this solvent on, but you see that isn't even round. Oh dear. But we'll let that dry completely, and then we'll do some more on that. But I'll put that to one side for a minute, and then it's just more endless sanding and scraping and all the rest of it. So I shall get on with that, and then when I'm finished, I'll bring you back and we'll go on from there. Such fun. Right, as you can see, we're making progress. There are many, many parts. I'm almost done now. So what I'm just doing now is, having finished cleaning up the horrendous state of the rear shock absorbers, you'll notice that these two bits here, the top and the middle, are supposed to be like nested. So this bottom part would move into the top part. Stop laughing at the back. So what I'm doing is I just want to refine that joint a little bit, because there's going to be a difference, because this will be silver and this will be body colored. So I'm just using this hooked blade on my razor saw, and what I'm going to do is just rest it up against the edge there and just make a little cut like that. Not very much, it's not deep, it's just really we're just scoring the plastic. But what we're doing is just defining that edge. And the nice thing about doing it, you don't have to use a curved blade like this. It's just, I find this easier because it, you can kind of rock it back and forth like that. And you can just do like more of it, instead of having to go straight and go all the way around, you can kind of rock it and get a bit more of a cut out of each, you know, sweep of the blade, as it were. But we'll just go all the way around like this. Like that, you see. Oh. And just go all the way around like that. And that just gives it a little bit of definition. I will also do the same thing on the forks here, because again, you can barely see the transitions. The molds are so shot. But this part here would go into this part here. So we'll do the same thing here. like that, you see. So I'll do the other one, and then I think we might be ready for some paint and assembly. Ha, finally. Right, so an update. As you can see, this looks like an explosion in a plastic factory. I have done the preliminary cleaning of everything. The frame is together. The engine is almost together. We'll talk about that in a minute. The wheels I have dry fitted together. They're not actually glued yet, and I'll tell you why of that again in a minute. So what I've been doing is, before I re-prime everything, I have just been going through and basically test fitting everything to make sure it fits. And in news that will surprise nobody, nothing fits. There are not two bits on this kit that fit together without serious cleaning and or modification. You should have no trouble assembling your kit if the instructions are followed properly. Yeah. As for the instructions, by the way, these are literally worse than useless in some cases. We'll get to that in a minute as well. So let me tell you what I'm doing at the moment. I've got the frame together, as I said. I have made the forks fit, which required an awful lot of filing and sanding and cleaning and all the rest of it. So those now actually fit. I have cleaned up the spindles because they were way too big to fit into the wheels. And not just because they were badly molded, but they are literally too big. They would not fit into those holes. So, you know, there you go, you got that. The other thing I've been doing is test fitting the front mudguard, because that is going to need some work. This didn't fit either. It does now, but it didn't before. I can't find the old story of my life. Stop laughing at the back. It was basically sitting like that. And it was basically because, pointy thing, this part here was not the same shape as the top of the mudguard. So I just cleaned a little bit out. So that now actually fits straight. And the reason I was doing all this is because I wanted to assemble the front forks, just dry fit the front forks, so that I could sort out these awful bloody things that are supposed to be the mudguard stays. These don't fit either. So, because what they're supposed to do is go round like that and then attach to these little ears here. But as you can see, it doesn't fit. There is, hang on, let's take that off for a minute so you can see it better. But if I put that where it's supposed to go, there is daylight. It doesn't fit. They don't fit. And they're the wrong shape. But, you know, authentic parts and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So I think I was going to try and clean these up, but I'm going to try something else first. But I'll get to that in a minute. Because there's some other things we need to look at as well. So let's put that down. So then we move on to the rear mudguard. And that doesn't fit. Now the instruction... Oh, these instructions are bloody terrible. Right, so the rear mudguard, if you look at section 4, it's like put the back wheel in, do this, do that. And then number 5 is mudguard. Doesn't show you where this end of it goes. It just appears there. So, you know, great, thanks for that. That's helpful. I have determined, through a bit of brute force and ignorance, that it is supposed to go, I think, like that. However, if we look underneath, we can see, if I can show you, if we look in here, there are these cutouts that these pins are supposed to go in. And in news that will surprise no one, they don't fit. As you can see, they don't fit. So we'll just trim a little bit out of that. That'll be fine. So that's okay. So we've got that to do. Then there comes the tank. Now the tank you're supposed to clamshell onto the frame, because what you've got here at the front, you've got these little pins on either side that go into these little lugs here. However, if you do that, because, surprise, surprise, the two halves of the tank didn't fit together, there'd be no way to clean it up. So, yeah. So, there's that. I'm getting to a point. We'll see all this. try and follow along. So the next thing we come to is the chain assembly. Now, again, the plans don't actually mention which way round the chain is supposed to go, because it has like a concave side here, and then it has this bit sticking out the other side. Now, again, through a bit of trial and error, I determined that this is supposed to fit into the back wheel here like that. Unsurprisingly, it didn't fit. As you can see, I've had to waller it out to make it fit. But that now fits and kind of turns, but, you know. So the idea is, what you do, and I can see why they've done it. It kind of makes sense in a weird way if you turn your head and squint. You put that through like that, and then that goes onto the spindle on the trailing arm, and then that goes on the outside of the trailing arm like that. And then according to the plans, at this point the engine would already be fitted, and you would then take the side cover, which has a pin in it, that goes through this hole. And you would pop that on like that, glue it all together, Bob's your uncle and Fanny's your aunt. Now, I don't like that for a number of reasons. Firstly, because it means painting this part of the engine separately from the rest of it. And, oh God, I can't get the damn thing off now. Because, again, that didn't fit. I had to clean that up as well. The other problem is that, unsurprisingly, this part doesn't fit very well. So I'd like to actually get this fitted like that before I'd like to paint the engine as a monolithic unit. So the other problem, yes, there is another problem, is this chain guard. Now, according to the instructions, what you're supposed to do is put the back end in between the sprocket and the trailing arm, and then the front bit goes on the outside. So what we have here is a little pin on here, and that goes into, oh, the chain's not in the right place, hang on. That goes into that hole there, and then you're supposed to somehow maneuver this in between the chain and the sprocket and get it in that hole there. And it doesn't fit. You should have no trouble assembling your kit if you follow the instructions. Yeah, whatever. So, instead, what I'm going to do is this. And this is, we're now getting to the point. So if any of you have fallen asleep in the corner or gone away and do your shopping, we're about to get to the point. What I'm going to do is, firstly, I'm going to put this bit on the engine, and the engine will be one unit. I'm then going to take my nice little razor saw here, my JLC razor saw, which has a very, very fine blade. I think it's like 1/4 of a millimeter. And I am going to remove some material here to turn this hole into a slot, so that we can then slot it over that pin. Okay, so that's the first thing. I'm also going to cut the chain here, because this whole sprocket is hidden. If I pop that through there, you can see that that is completely hidden behind there. So we can cut the chain up here, and basically we can put this on to the frame, because this has to be the same color as the frame. So we can put this on, paint it all as part of the frame, and then we can fit this afterwards. Right, so there's that. Now, while we've got the razor saw out, what we're also going to do is we're going to turn these holes into slots as well, so that we can drop the tank onto the frame, like so, and that these will then drop down and drop over those pins. So there's that. We're also going to clean out the slots on the mudguard, so that that actually fits. And then I've got a whole bunch of others. What I'd like to do is get the frame painted, get the engine painted, get the engine into the frame, and then look at some of the other bits that need to go on. So if I can get this into like a rolling chassis sort of thing, we'll be in a better place. But for now, let's make some of these cuts. So we'll start with this tank, seeing as I have it right in front of me. And I will endeavour to do this in front of the camera, but it's going to be hilarious trying to do so because, you know. Now this saw, I don't know if you can see that, but it has a coarse side and a fine side. So we will be using the fine side. And I will try and cut this in a manner that you can see, but probably won't be able to. I can't even see it myself. You can probably see this better than I can. The joys of 4K. Right. There we go. Make a little cut there. A little cut there. I might have cut that at slightly the wrong angle, but that's fine. So I'll clean that up a little bit, but you can see there what I've done. Just cut a little slot there. I would now do the same thing with the, where'd the sprocket go? There it is. I should try this without cutting my fingers. This doesn't matter quite so much because you won't be able to see it, so I'll cut this more of like a V. So we'll just come in like so. And I shall try and not cut my fingers, but I don't want to, I've got to keep hold of it because I don't want it to snap. Right, that's one side. And that is t'other. So like that, you see. And now, again, I'll have to clean it up a bit, but the idea is that that will now be able to slide over that. Instead of having to be put over it, we can just slot it in like that. And then again, I will make a little cut up at the top here and split the chain. Like that. And now that means we can work that into place once everything else is there. So I will do all the rest of that in a minute off camera. Now the other thing I was going to do, if I could find the front forks, there they are, is we need to figure out what we're going to do about these stays. So what I'm going to do is pop that in there. I'm going to pop the front wheel in, which again, the plans, let me show you because this is even better. Where is it? There it is. So if we look at number 7 here, it says put the brake thing on, put that on, blah de blah, great. Then we move on to section 8 and suddenly there's a wheel there. Doesn't tell you how to fit the wheel. Doesn't tell you which way around the wheel goes. It's just a wheel. Great. If you follow the instructions, you'll have no problems. Yeah, okay. I'd follow the instructions if they were actually instructions. But there we go. Now, I'm assuming, and you'll pardon the expression, but we all know that assume makes an ass out of you and me, that because this is flat and this is flat, that goes like that. That's how I'm working. But then it might also meant to go like that. But I genuinely don't know because it doesn't tell you in the plans. I'm assuming it goes like that because they're both flat. So I think that's what we're going to go for. So let's just pop this wheel in here. And basically the wheel is fitted with brute force and ignorance. Basically what you have to do is, let's take that out for a minute so it doesn't get broken. In fact, I might even put the tyre on quickly, just so that we've got everything there that we need. So that goes like that, and then I'll try and get that pin lined up now. Something like that. So now we've got the front forks kind of dry fitted together. We can look at how we're going to get this mudguard to fit properly. And I have actually decided to make a small change. We're going to a bit of customization. And what I've done in order to save myself some effort is I've lopped off the front of the mudguard. So what we're going to do is pop that in like that. There we go, very sporty. And what we'll do is we now only have to worry about doing one of the stays, and it also sorts out the fact that it didn't line up with the wheel properly. So yeah, again, bit of brute force and ignorance. So as I mentioned previously, we could try and reshape one of these things to fit, but I've got a better idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of this, where is it? There it is. This is evergreen styrene rod. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of this off, and I'll cut it over length. In fact, I might just use this bit. And I'm going to warm it up in some hot water and basically bend it around the mudguard. So I might just bend this bit in the middle, because then it'll be plenty long enough, and then I can just cut it down to length. So we'll pop the mudguard back off. Oh, he says, won't come out that way. Put that to one side, and I'll heat this up in some water, and we'll basically just form it around the mudguard. So to do that, I'm going to use my little air wick wax burner, because I use that for doing decals and things. You've seen me use that before. You'll see me use it again later on. But in this case, we're going to use it to warm this plastic up. Right, so the water's warmed up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a bit of a bend, like so. And I'm just going to put this end of it into the hot water and leave it there for a minute and let it warm up, and then we'll basically shape it to this. All right, just put that on there like that. Twang. And just bend it and just hold it there while it cools down. Might need a bit more. Thing is, you kind of got to be quick with it because it cools down really fast. Right, that's not looking too bad. We'll give it a little bit more. Oh, if I don't drop the mudguard on the floor, of course. Ugh. All right, something like that. So now, I'll probably have to refine this a bit more, but it's just to give you an idea. We'll pop that back in there. Stick that on like that. And then that will go over there like that, and then we can just cut that to length, you see, and glue it on. I might have to wedge something under the mudguard just to keep it in place while I do that, but that gives you an idea anyway. But I'll keep that and cut that to length, and we can stick that on in a minute. Right, now while we're waiting for that mudguard to dry, I've just actually clamped that rather severely, as you can see, to hold it in place. I'm going to leave that basically overnight to make sure that solvent has got plenty of time to do its job. But I've just finished off the tank. So as I mentioned, I've just turned those eyelets basically into hooks. And so now they will actually just fit over those pins like that. And that will secure the tank without us having to clamshell it. So we're starting to get somewhere with this thing. I've just got to be very careful taking that on and off. But yeah, we're starting to get somewhere. So what I'll do now is I'll do a little bit more cleaning up, and then I'll re-prime everything, and then we'll sort of reevaluate what we're going to do next. So the saga continues. I was just doing a dry fit, just putting stuff together before I re-primed everything, and I thought I'll just check the air cleaners and make sure that they fit. And in news that will surprise no one, they don't. Because so basically what you've got is you've got a pin and a hole on the side of the battery box. And on the back of the air cleaner, you've got a pin and a hole. So, and then you've got a bit on the end there that goes into the back of the carburetor. So you would think that the idea is you just pop that in like that, and then that would all nicely line up. And it kind of does on this side. However, if we go to the other side and we put this one in, where's it gone? There it is. So we pop that into the carburetor and it doesn't fit. And let me take the seat off so you can see what's going on here. I still don't think you're going to be able to see what's going on here. I'm going to take the tank off as well. So basically, when you put that in and try and get it into place, I don't know if you can see in there, but it does not line up at all. If I hold it like that, maybe you can see how far further back that is than the other one. It's about 1 millimeter out of place. I'm trying to angle it so you can see it. I don't know if you'll be able to. But basically the hole is like 1 pin over from where it should be. And the only way to get it in is to push the engine forwards, which then pops it out of the mounts. So that doesn't fit either. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to trim the end of this off with the razor saw, which is earning its keep today. And also this doesn't line up with the back of the carburetor anyway. I mean, you can see it on the other one there. It doesn't line up at all. It's not, it should be like flat against it, and it isn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim the end of this off, basically at an angle, so that it's so that it will fit, and hope that that solves the problem. Because if it doesn't, I mean, if push comes to shove, what I can do, because it obviously has these covers that go over the air cleaners. So if push comes to shove, I can just cut this off, this pipe, and then just glue it to this. But the trouble is the air cleaners hold these, so they kind of need to be there. Right, let's see how we did with that. That is definitely closer. Right, let's refine this with a bit of sandpaper. Right, let's see what that does. But yes, it's just, it's there we go. That's how it should be, like that. But you can see there, that does not line up with the carburetor. So that was never going to fit right. I think the only thing I can do is kind of twist it over a little bit like that. and then hope that this will go on in the right place, or at least somewhere. Yeah, so that doesn't look too bad. And then that one goes on that side. Something like that. But yeah, this thing is just fighting me every step of the way. Anyway, as I was saying, I will now dismantle this and prime it, and then maybe we can start thinking about putting some paint on it. Right, it is the next day. This thing has dried now, and what I've done is I've put it back in the forks with the wheel, and I've kind of wedged it in place with this bit of a sanding stick, and that's so I can push down on it. So when I push down on it, it basically puts it in the right place, and I can put some tension on it. And unfortunately, it's not in exactly the right place, but I can soon bend that into shape. So what I want to do is get that sort of where it needs to be, like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it on an angle so that it will butt up against the fork. So it wants to be about there-ish, something like that. Right, keep that bit. Right, it might want another smidge off the end. And there we go, like that, you see. And I can fine tune it with a bit of sandpaper to get it in the right place, but basically that'll go like that. And then when we put this all together, I can paint these with the mudguard, and then when we put it on, we just need to glue those on. But that will look something like that when it's all, oh, hang on, like that when it's all done. So I quite like the bobbed mudguard, actually. It's a good look. But there you go. So as I mentioned before, what I'm going to do now is take everything apart again, maybe do a little bit more cleaning on a few bits, and then re-prime everything, and then we can start painting. Right, so I've got everything primed, and we're going to start putting some paint on this thing. Now, I decided that I'm going to change things up a little bit. If we look at the reference pictures, you can see that the frame, the tank, the forks are basically what they call body colour. And then the mudguards and the side panels and everything are like an aluminium silver. So I decided I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do the whole body one colour. So what I've done is a little bit of assembly. So I have put the front mudguard on, and I have also assembled the frame, the tank, and the rear mudguard, and the chain guard, because it's just easier to paint them all as one thing. And the colour that we're going to use for the body is going to be this. So this is one of the model air colours. You've seen me use this before. This is black metallic. So we're going to use this for all of the body work, and then we're going to use a different colour for the other bits. We'll see that in a minute. But this is what we're going to put on the body. Right, that doesn't look too bad, does it? It seems more silver than black, but we'll see what it's like when it's dried. Right, so there's our metallic black. It looks all right. It's not quite as black as I would have liked, but I think it still looks all right. It looks more like a kind of graphite grey. But that's all those bits done. Now, I'm going to be lacquering everything afterwards to make it shiny, obviously, but we'll do that once it's a bit more assembled. So that will obviously change the look of the paint. It's worth noting, actually, and you'll see this as we go on. It's always worth testing things when it comes to painting, because your colours will react differently depending on what top coat you put on them. So, for example, if you put a colour coat on something, if you put a matte finish on it, it will make the paint appear like duller. I mean, obviously it will because it's matte, but it will tone the colour down. And if you use a gloss, it will actually brighten a colour up. So this will actually look slightly different once it's got the gloss finish on it, but we'll see that later. But that's always worth noting. Now we're going to turn our attention, if I can get that in there without dropping it, to the like the engine and whatnot, all of the aluminium parts. And for that, we're going to use this metallic aluminium from Vallejo. There we go. So I'll do all the other bits for that. So I'm mainly going to do the engine, the brake drums, and the foot pegs. So we'll get those done, and then we'll go on from there. Right, now we're going to turn our attention to some of the details like the foot pegs, the hand grips, and so on. And for that, we're going to use this Tamiya XF85 rubber black. We may well do the seat with that as well, actually. All right, there we go for that. Right, now before we move on, I'm going to give some of these bits a coat of this gloss lacquer. So the engine, the frame and all that kind of thing. I'm going to give a coat of this because we need to do that and let it dry before we move on to the next stages. So I'll do this off camera, and once it's dry, I'll come back and show you why we've done this. Right, so now that lacquer's had a chance to dry, it's basically because I'm going to use this panel line, and mainly on the engine here. And it's basically because we want to pick out all of the details. So that's what we're going to use this for. So what we're going to do is just put this on like this. And you see it picks out all the highlights, all the lowlights rather, all the veins and everything. So we'll go over all of this like that. And as you can see, that looks way better than it does without it. So I will do various bits with this, and we'll let it dry, and then we'll do some cleanup, and then we'll go on from there. Right, now the next thing we've got to do is paint the rest of the bodywork, and for that we are going to use this. Yes, gold metallic. Perhaps a little ostentatious, but I don't know, we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to do the wheels, the exhaust, the side of the fuel tank, and all the rest of the other bits that basically we haven't done yet. So those will all be gold. Right, so these are the side panels for the tank. So I'll do these just to give you an idea, and then I'll do the rest of them after. This is going to look fantastic. I'll do the rest of it. Right, so that's the wheels and the exhaust and everything done, and looking very shiny and slightly obnoxious, which I absolutely love. So I'm going to let these dry. Then I'm going to give this another coat of the gloss lacquer. And then I think we can put some decals on and then maybe start putting this thing together. Actually, while I'm waiting for all that stuff to dry, I'm going to do the tail light. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this Citadel chainmail to paint it silver. And then after that, I'm going to go over it with this X27 clear red. And what I'll also do is, while I've got the chainmail out, I'm going to give the chain a very light dry brush just to pick out some of the highlights. But we'll do this first. Right. See what sort of a lash up we can make of this. There we go. So we'll let that dry. Right. Oh, hang on. Where are my glasses? Oh, there they are. Right. That's better now. I see what I'm doing. Right. Let's see how well this works. Doesn't look too bad. The trick I found with these clears is to put them on fairly thick. Oh. Right. Oh, just a bit on the side there. There we go. Right, we'll let that dry. We'll let all the lacquer dry. And then I think decals will be next. Right, time to put some decals on. So I'll just do one or two just to show you, and then I'll do the rest off camera. But basically, I actually figured out these ones here. I mentioned before I didn't know where they went. I did find a photo online. They go on the side of the side covers. I'm not going to put them on, but that's where they go if you're going to use them. So I'm going to use the gold decals, because obviously. So we're going to start with these with the side panels on the tank. So we need these ones here. So we want that one first. So we'll just cut these two out. And I'll see if I can show you this. I've mentioned this before, but in case you haven't seen it. If you actually look here, you can see, there you go, I think I've got the light to catch it. Around the edge there, there's like a border of clear material, and that actually makes the decal bigger than it needs to be. So what you want to do ideally is cut around the edge of the decal to get rid of that, which is what we're going to do, which is going to be hilarious, but you know, it is what it is. So we'll do this one first, and we'll just cut very carefully right up to the edge of where the colour is. And obviously we don't want to cut into the actual decal itself, but just cut around the edge. And again, it doesn't matter if you leave a little bit, it's better to err on the side of caution. But we'll just cut all the way around, which is great fun with a thing this big, but there you go. Because the trouble is, you often find with these smaller ones, this is where you need them to fit perfectly, or at least fit a lot better than they would do if you left that bit on it. So there you go, that's near enough. Now we want to make sure we put this on the right one. Which way around does this go? So this will go on this one here. So I've got my little air wick wax burner over here with some warm water in it. Pop that in there for a second. And then we'll put a little bit of our Mr. Marks setter in the appropriate spot. Shouldn't need a lot, little dab will do. That should be more than enough. And then we'll see if we can get this where it needs to go. Oh, that doesn't want to come off of there. Let's take that a bit more. God, that really doesn't want to come off of there. Wow, that really didn't want to come off that paper. Right, so we'll just pop that like that and manoeuvre it into place. Which is something like that. And then we take a cotton bud and we roll it over and squeeze out any excess fluid from underneath and just get this to sit flat like that, you see. So I will do the rest of these decals and then I'll give them another coat of varnish and then we'll go on from there. Right, well I think we're ready to start putting this thing together now. So I'm going to do the wheels first because I want to give them time to dry before I do anything else. So I've just made sure that they go together because obviously now we've painted everything, we need to make sure that everything still fits together, and I did have to remove some paint. So I'm going to use this Revel contactor for this. Whoop, which is now decided it's going to drip everywhere because of course it is. I'll tell you what, these Revel contactor bowls can be an absolute nightmare. They kind of airlock and then they just start dripping everywhere, which is not ideal. But never mind, we'll manage to work around it. So we'll just put a bead of glue around there and put the lid back on to stop it dripping anymore. And now we need to put one side in the tyre like that. Oh, get in the tyre. And then the other side goes on like, I'm trying to line that pin up. There we go. Right, now the trouble is that hole has now decided to fill itself with glue, which is helpful. I might have to drill that out again afterwards, but I've got these big clamps, you've seen me use these before, and I'm going to put that on like that because that will hold it right in the middle, and that should squeeze that together and let the glue dry. Oh, now we'll do the other one. Right, now we'll try and get the engine in. I've glued the gas tank on, gas cap on, so we want to put this in here and very gently this the wrong way round. I'm better off doing it around this way. Alright, now put that there, and then that goes in like that. Except that doesn't seem in any way straight for some reason. Why is that? Alright, never mind, it's near enough. Right, now we need to get all this together, which does require a certain amount of brute force and ignorance. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. So what I don't want to do is knock this off, or indeed break anything, or, you know, there it goes. Right. It really doesn't look straight. I think that needs to twist a little bit. Yeah, because I think if you look here, this is down a little bit further than this one. This is the problem here. But I think that's about as good as it's going to get. That's better. Right, now we'll put a little drop of glue on here to hold it. It doesn't need a lot, it just needs just to stop it from moving like that and like that. And that'll do for that. Oh, dearie me, this is painful. And so now I think we can put the, where are the instructions? Not the instructions are any good. I just want to make sure I'm doing things in the right order. Right, I think we'll assemble the rear brakes. So we need this and this. Right, now that goes on. This is where we might need to scrape some paint to get this on. Yeah, I thought as much. Oh no, I can't get it off again. That goes on there like that, and we'll put a little drop of glue just to hold that in place. And then we've got the really fun bit of trying to get this in. Now, this goes like that, and it needs to go in there. Oh, it's like trying to redecorate your house with a letterbox. And then that goes like that. And I just need to get that into that hole. Stop laughing at the back. Right. A little dab of glue there. And a little dab there. Okay. We'll touch that paint up at the end. Right, so that's that. So now we need to put the chain on the other side. Oh dear. No, I can't remember which way around. Now this chain, I need to check this because this part here, this little boss, needs to fit into the wheel. So let's make sure that still happens before we start putting this together and then finding out that nothing fits. Right, it does. It's not the best fit in the world, but it does go in there. Right, so now that needs to go through there. Come on. Oh, this is so awkward. Oh, why won't that go through there? You know what, in a minute I'm just going to cut this chain. Why won't that go through there anymore? I say it did go through it, now it won't. There we go. Just needed a bit of persuasion and a little bit taken off the that's it. Oh dear, right. Twist that round a touch. Right, and there we go. So that's the rear brakes and the chain assembled. So now we can put the back wheel. Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do before we put the back wheel in. We'll put the centre stand on. Oh God. Right, so this goes in there like that. Oh, good grief. Yeah, it goes that way. I'm trying to remember how I got this in before, but I managed to get it in without damaging anything. I think the trouble is, as with so many things now, there's a bit of paint on there that's stopping it going in, so I'm going to have to right, let's try that again. Right, go on, in you go. There we go. Right, now we can put the rear wheel on. And you know, honestly, I might just glue this rear wheel because I think it's going to be an absolute nightmare trying to get this all to stay in place otherwise. Right. Once again, the day is saved by brute force and ignorance. There we go. Right. Is that wheel even straight? Well, if it isn't, it's not going to make any difference because there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, so I think what we can do now is put the air cleaners on. So there's one, and there is t'other, and the side panels. 1 and 2. So this is this side. Let's just put those over there for a second. And we'll put some glue on here, like that. And then we'll try and get this into here. And I think that went straight in. Wow, that was useful. That was helpful. Right, let's see if the other one goes on as easy, because we know it won't. Glue. Now you might think, why am I using the Revel contactor instead of the other stuff? But it's the fact that I can put this on and it will actually stay in place, so it's good for doing things like this. Blimey, that one went on as well. Well, wonders will never cease. Now, we need to put glue there and there. You see that just stays put. And it gives us a minute to get everything, you know, in place rather than just having to throw glue at it and hope for the best. And this goes on like that. So that's one. That is sitting very, very oddly. That's better. And then we'll do the same on this side. And then I think once we've done this, we'll leave everything to dry for a while before we move on to the next bit. Because what I don't want to do is have bits start falling apart. Because quite frankly, I've had enough of this model. As I'm sure you can imagine. Right. And that goes on like that. I suppose we could put the seat on as well, actually, while we're at it, couldn't we? Let's put the seat on. Why not? Blow the expense. Now, that goes on to 4 pins. Right, let's put a bit of glue in each of those. And oh, come on. All right, there's the seat. And I'll tell you what, one last thing I will do as well is I'm going to put the horn on. I might need to put a little bit more paint on that, because what I did, I actually drilled that out. So it actually has a horn. So it's not just a lump of plastic. But now I don't know if this is actually going to fit, is going to be the fun thing. Because where it's supposed to go is here. And I really don't think that's going to fit. Because you see, I don't know if you can see, there's 2 little bits there. And that's the horn is supposed to sit on those, but they're too far apart. Oh, come here. And as you can see, that doesn't fit. Which is kind of annoying. But I think what I might do, if I can, and I am trying to do this in front of the camera, but I don't know if it's going to work, is I might see if I can get it to... Oh. Straight on the floor. Talk about shelves for a second. Right. I'm wondering whether to edit this part of the video or just leave it and you can see like literally the whole thing in real time. Is that side panel's popped out again, hasn't it? There we go, that's where it should be. Never mind, right, it's on there now. Yes, so what I was going to try and do before gravity intervened was try... Oh, I just dropped it again. Where did that go? There it is. The trouble is because it's small and round and gloss, it's quite difficult to actually get hold of. But what I was saying is I was going to try and pop it on like that. That might work. And with a very careful application of some glue, we might get that to stay. As I say, that's not technically in the right place, but it's close enough. Oh. There. And we'll just leave that and let that dry for a while. We could put the exhaust on as well, actually, couldn't we? It might be easy to put the exhaust on before we put the front forks in. Is that going to stay there now if I do this? By golly, I think it will. Right, we're going to leave this for now and let it dry. And then we'll move on from there. Plus the fact I need a cup of tea and lie down. Right, while we're waiting for all that stuff on the back to dry, I'm going to turn my attention to the front forks. So we need to put the brake drum on first. And you'll see I've already removed some paint from the spindle just to make sure it goes on properly. Alright, let's just get that into place. There we go. Like that. Now we've got to try and get this wheel on. I'm not sure which way round it goes. That way? I think it goes that way. Right, now we've got to try and get this wheel in here without breaking anything. And also without knocking the paint off the wheel if I can avoid it, because that would not be nice. Oh. I've got to try and get the tyre past that. Oh, that does not want to go. Oh, this is going to be hilarious. Right, that's got it part of the way. Oh, look at how bent those forks are trying to get this wheel in here. This is not good. Oh, close. Right, that side's in. I'll put a bit of glue on there. And hopefully that will let us do that. Yes. Look at how splayed those forks are. Oh dear. Well, that could have been a lot worse, so that's fine. So what we'll do now is we'll put the headlight in, I think. Or at least try and put the headlight in. One of the things I did is I've just put a bit of UV resin over the gauge cluster just to give it a bit of make it look a bit more like glass. I've got to try and get this in here now. And that goes in something like that. That is not straight, because of course it isn't. I think it needs to go something like that. Glue there, bit of glue there. Okay. I think that's about right. So now we'll put that to dry. We'll just pop that back over here, and we'll go back to the back of the bike. Right, so I did, I got a bit carried away, I'm afraid. I do apologise, but I put the rear shocks and the number plate on. So we need the exhaust, and we need the foot pegs. Right, that's one exhaust. Right, now I don't know how these exhausts go on. I don't know, I think the foot pegs might have to go first. Right, let's just do a little bit of dry fitting here. So this one is for this side because it has the clutch, the brake lever on it, I should say, the gear shift. Words, right? Now, okay, right, I think I see how this goes. This is going to be great fun. So, now that goes, or should go, like that. And of course the holes don't line up. I fitted this before and it fitted, and now it doesn't fit. I swear I don't know what's going on with this thing. Right, okay, so we'll put a little drop of glue there, and that should let that go into place like that. And then we want a little drop of glue at the top here, just to make sure it doesn't fall out, like that. And that goes like that. And now, this exhaust, oh, come here. That's not the right exhaust, it's this one. Because this has the cutout, you see, for the peg of the stand. Now that needs to go. Oh, this is going to be hilarious. Right, that needs to go in there. Oh. That goes in there. In there, thank you. And then that goes... Right, okay, so let's put a little drop of glue there. So that that actually goes in. Oh. And then we need to try and get that's not going to go up anymore because the engine's in the way. Okay. Let's just try and do... Oh, it's so close. Close, but not quite. We might just have to glue that like that, I think. There we go. That's near enough. And near enough is, as they say, good enough. Right, let's get the other side. Because this has our brake lever on it. And now we need to try and do this without knocking the exhaust off of this side. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that that is... Oh, God's sake. I'll just pick up off the floor, shall I? Where did that go? Right. Now, as I was saying, this is why you always keep the floor swept, you see. So that when bits fall on the floor, you can see where they go. Now, what I think the problem we might have here is that this peg here, this might be interfering with it. So we might need to trim a bit off, but we'll see. Is that going to go? You know, I think it might. Okay, so once again, a little drop of glue there, and we will try and squeeze that into place, and then try desperately not to knock the exhaust off the other side while we glue the top. Like that. Oh, this is all going swimmingly. As swimmingly as anything goes on this awful bloody kit. Right, now for this exhaust. So that goes in there. And that is never going to reach all the way back there because the starter motor's in the way. Yeah, that starter motor is completely in the way of the exhaust. Because it's supposed to be there. And that is not going to go because the starter motor's in the way. Oh, good grief, really? Oh. So what am I supposed to do with that? Do I just carve a lump off the starter motor to make it fit? we might end up doing that, you know, which is kind of annoying because it has multiple layers of paint on it. But as you can see, that simply does not fit. I don't know if you can see it there. Let me see if I can hold all this together and show you. But if you look in there, this here is supposed to go over that, but that is currently touching the starter motor, which means it will not fit. So I think we're going to have to remove a little bit of material from the starter motor to make that go in there. And we are going to get savage with this thing. Cover your ears. Those of a nervous disposition may want to look away. Right, let's see if that works or whether we need to get any more off. That is better. We need to take a bit more off, I think. Yeah, we just need to take a little touch more off. And the idea is that hopefully the exhaust will actually hide this horrible thing that I'm doing. That should let that go in a touch more. And we're nearly there. We are so close. Right, if I can get that in there. Right, there we go. The trouble is the exhaust is not, it needs to go in like that. I think it's also hitting the crankcase. Oh, good grief. Is there anything on this bike that fits together properly? So it should be like that. But as soon as I let go of it, it does that. Can we twist that like that a little bit? That's a bit better. Still not great, but it's better. This is such an awful bloody kit. Have I knocked that number plate off? Oh, haven't I? Right, foot pegs. Oh, dearie me. This is just hilarious how bad this kit is. Right, okay, so we want a foot peg. There. Like that. That's one. 3 more to go. And then this one goes in the back here. Like that. And that's almost straight. And that whole thing seems to have moved. Oh no, it hasn't. Oh God, bloody awful. Right, now we can put the side panels on the fuel tank. And I apologise in advance, but these have not gone nearly as well as I hoped they would have done. I just had to hand paint the rubber pads on, and they don't look as good as I would like. I did try and mask them, but it just didn't really want to. It really didn't want to go. Right, you go on. Oh, come on. You go on there, like that. And you go on there, like that. See, once again, these just really don't fit very well. Oh, stay. Right, let's try and get a little bit down here at the bottom. Like that. Oh dear. This is such an awful kit, it really is. And then there. Okay. Oh. Right, so the final step is going to be getting the front forks in. So let's try that, shall we? Now, are you going to cooperate and go in there, or am I going to have to clean all that paint off? I suspect I'm going to have to clean all that paint off. Oh no, I think we're all right. You can't turn the wheels anyway, the front wheel, because it hits the exhaust. So I might as well just glue this on, because it's never going to fit. Oh God. Okay, now let's see if we can get this in. Am I going to have to clean that up a little bit? There we go. Right, now we've got to try and get the top of these triple trees lined up. And I think what we will do is we will drop a little bit of glue down in there, and a little bit of glue down in there, and that should hopefully help this all go together. Oh, one side went. Come on. There we go. Right. I think we can finally wrap this thing up. I might do a little bit of finagling here and there, but maybe touch up a bit of paint here and there, but otherwise I think we're ready to wrap this up, finally. And here is our finished article. Now, normally at this point, I say I'm quite pleased with how this came out. And I suppose in a way I am, because I don't think we did too bad, all things considered. But this kit is just bloody awful. It really is terrible. I mean, how they've got the gall to sell something like this is, you know, I think they actually don't sell this anymore, and I'm very glad about it. Yeah, this is, you know, I was talking to Bunny Kitten about building bad kits, and she said, I'll get you one that's bad. She did. It's absolutely awful. So, yeah, there you go. But if any of you have built one of these, I'd be keen to hear how you got on with it, whether you had a similar experience or worse even, or if you even finished it. There you go. So we've made a silk purse out of ourselves here. So hopefully you've all enjoyed my slow descent into madness doing this. If you want to watch me build any other bad kits, then do feel free to suggest them in the comments. But as ever, I'd like to thank my top tier patrons, Howard, Amy, Chris and Hawaii Clive O, especially Amy in this case for making all this happen in the first place. Thank you, Bunny Kitten, love you. And we will see you on the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.